Vegas has plenty to do. Gambling, partying, going to shows, going to buffets.
Everything you could ever want to do to give yourself pleasure.
We decided this time visiting Vegas, we wanted to give ourselves pleasure by going to the worst rated shows.
Do these shows actually suck?
Or are they glorious? We are filming this video in nature because we wanted to detox from Vegas. Vegas is a very sinful city, so we thought, let's get some fresh air, be in nature. So hopefully the universe will forgive us for whatever we did that was bad. So on a Thursday around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we landed in the sunny city of Las Vegas. Since we were in Vegas, we ate at a buffet and then we went to our first show, David Copperfield's magic show.
The icon, the legend, the magician, the illusionist.
A few years ago in 2019, we watched the Criss Angel magic show. I was very excited because when I was little, he had a show that I think was on Netflix. It showed him levitating between buildings.
Ooh.
But he didn't do that at the show that we went to.
I was most excited to see Criss Angel because the billboard they have plastered everywhere is of his six-pack out. And I thought, okay, like, I love magic. And then also, like, he'll just be hot. And I'm like, yeah, like, let's watch this hot guy do magic. He didn't show his abs once. Like, are you kidding? You can't have that be on the billboard and it's not even a part of the show. Like, I don't know if he doesn't have abs anymore. Was it Photoshopped? Did we get catfished? I was pissed.
It was an entertaining show, but nothing really magic happened in my opinion.
Whenever you search worst Vegas shows, Criss Angel always pops up. Like, people really just, something about him twists them. Oprah says he's the greatest illusionist of our time. And also, he did all these public televised stunts in the 80s. He made the Statue of Liberty disappear. Like, wasn't the government probably pissed at first? They were like, oh my gosh, like, you can't just steal the Statue of Liberty, where'd you put it? Then he made it come back. He also, like, levitated over the Grand Canyon, I'm pretty sure. Like, he really pulled a bunch of stunts in the 80s. Has anyone watching ever seen David Copperfield or Criss Angel on a plane, though? Because why would they be sitting in a plane if they could effing fly?
True, that exposes the whole gimmick. David Copperfield was a total letdown. I can make stuff appear if you turn the lights off too.
It's funny that everyone goes into these magic shows knowing they're fake. Like, the whole point is to trick the audience, but then they get mad when they get tricked. Like, he turned off the lights and then he made stuff appear. Anyone can do that. But I guess the trick is supposed to be so good that you can't even tell.
We got tickets in the very back corner. First of all, because they were the cheapest, and also we didn't want to get asked on stage because it seems like a lot of these shows they ask people to go on stage.
And I don't want to get cut in half and then I have to deal with that for the rest of my life.
We were lucky, I guess, and like a minute before the show, someone brought us to like the second row in a booth.
Yeah, the theater was probably 70% full or something.
There was this box that came out.
Oh, yes.
And then they open the box, nothing in it, and then they do a few like twirls or something, and then they open it and he's in it.
Oh, so he appears out of thin air, basically.
It's cool, but like I feel like I wasn't that wowed by that. It was going well, but then he started getting the audience involved. And after he asked one audience person to be a part of the show, that's when I realized, okay, I don't need to be stressed about anything because I'm pretty sure most of the people here that are invited on stage are actors or something.
As the show went on especially, you could tell that we just got a little sneaking suspicion that every single volunteer was actually a paid scripted actor.
And after the show, we found out that sometime back in the day, David Copperfield got sued by someone that he brought up on stage or did a magic trick to. So it makes sense why all these people are paid actors.
And one thing that really made it seem like they're paid actors is he threw this ball into the audience or like a frisbee or something.
Yeah.
And he said whoever catches it is gonna be a part of the next trick. This guy catches it and he told him, give it to the girl next to you. And then the guy didn't do it, and he was like, give it to the girl next to you. And then didn't he literally have to say, give it to the girl next to you? Like,
yeah.
He really got mad, and then he gave it to the girl next to him, who I'm assuming was the paid actor. This is all alleged.
But the point of the whole thing was he threw a frisbee and then the people came up on stage and they guessed a lottery number somehow.
Didn't he make someone disappear right in front of us? Like, he came out to the third row and there was like a stage in front of us and someone disappeared. Remember that?
Him or someone else went into it. and then they disappeared, and like, I actually don't know how they do that. So
Yeah.
they are really good at like these illusions.
That would suck if you were actually a real life volunteer for the David Copperfield show and he made you disappear. Your family can't even sue him because you willingly went and were a part of the disappearing trick, but now you're just missing forever. No one knows where you went. Now I'm scared these people weren't actors and they're actually missing.
People do always say a lot of people go missing in Vegas. Maybe it's not from kidnapping or adult napping. Maybe it's from these magic shows.
Something to think about.
Yeah. To give you guys the rundown, it was basically about his dad dying and about how he loved his dad so much.
And also his dad was somehow connected to Roswell.
Which is where that UFO fell. In the 1950s or something.
1930s, I think, 40s.
And the government denied it.
But his dad was apparently a part of it.
And the show was coming to an ending, and he's like, I miss my dad, I wish I could get a piece of him. And this UFO comes down, and then an alien falls out of the UFO, and then he brings the alien on stage, and the alien talks, but it just is like a little puppet that talks.
So, I mean, I feel like we went in with the wrong idea. Like, I thought he was gonna try to do magic tricks where you actually believe it. But when there's a UFO coming down, some little Yoda, is that the guy's name from Star Wars?
Yeah.
Like I was like, okay, this is just more of a play, which is, it's entertaining, but I'm not falling for the magic tricks.
I enjoy it if I'm purely viewing it as just an hour of entertainment. But if I'm going into it as a magic show, then I don't think it's good.
Yeah, because I wasn't wowed. I like it when you go to a magic show, which I've been to some magic shows like this, where you leave and you are just scared.
Yeah.
You're like, wait, there's actually wizards among us. Didn't you leave the show inspired?
Throughout the show, they would play this song that his dad used to play for him, apparently. It's called Nature Boy, and it goes like, there was a boy, a very strange, enchanted boy. I've been listening to it recently because of this show. Something about that song is so magical, I love it. But yeah,
It's a bop.
He ended the show like, whatever you think is not possible is possible, and then he went into his career about like, I thought I could never do it, but I did it. and as corny as it sounds, I was like inspired, and I was like, okay, I'm glad I know this. Honestly, I did leave the show happy. I wouldn't say it is one of the worst shows.
Yeah, I enjoyed the show, but I did leave the show mad because I had to go pee so bad. My bladder was busting, and we were so close to the stage that I wouldn't have been able to walk out and go pee in the middle of the show. So I was just like racing to the urinal. That kind of reflected on my view of the show a little bit, but yeah, it was entertaining.
I just wouldn't go again.
Yeah, because I didn't sign up for a play, I signed up for magic.
Then we went to sleep and got ready for the next big day of shows.
We started earlier this day. We started the first show at 4 o'clock.
We went to the pool so we could get nice and glistening for the Blue Man Group. In my mind, this is one of the most iconic Vegas shows because I remember going to Vegas when I was like 10 or something, and I remember seeing on one of the taxis, the Blue Man Group, and I remember thinking in my head like, that's silly and funny. On gamblingsites.com, they put Blue Man Group as the #5 shows to avoid in Las Vegas.
Ouch.
Just a little history, the Blue Man Group started on the streets in New York City, and then over time they expanded to doing shows worldwide. We walked into the show, and right away it was just a goofy energy because there was a group of 3 sisters in front of us, and they all had these jugs of like orange juice, and I just was assuming the orange juice was mixed with some alcohol because they were, well, it was...
What was that?
While we were waiting for the show to begin, she was talking about how she loves the Blue Man Group, and she just kept talking to random people by her. We were both kind of scared that she was gonna talk to us, but she didn't.
She even told people, this is the first time I've gotten drunk in 3 years. It said, it's hitting my veins. I feel like I'm floating. Like, and we were thinking like, did you do pills or something too?
I don't know if alcohol makes you feel like you're floating, but I was scared because people in the middle of this like auditorium or whatever it was were wearing ponchos. So I was like, are we all gonna get wet and stuff? I just took a shower. Like, this is annoying.
Yeah, it was a lot of families there.
Yeah, this is for sure, it's not like meant for adults, I think. I don't think, like, it's more of just a fun family show. Boom. And the show started, the curtains opened, and the 3 slimy blue Baldman came out, I honestly was kind of starstruck. In that moment, I did kind of believe, like, they aren't humans. They're another species, I guess.
I know, I think that's sort of the whole thing, that they're supposed to be like extraterrestrial creatures, right? Banging on these drums, and then like parts of humanity in the show, like Twinkies and Captain Crunch, but like they don't really understand like how to eat it, but they're so excited about it. So it kind of does give the vibe of like an alien experiencing all this stuff for the first time.
There was one part of the show where one of the blue men came to my side because we were at the very corner. He had Captain Crunch and was just stuffing his mouth with it, and some of the Captain Crunch fell on my legs. It did very much remind me of like little kid comedy, which I kind of think is funny. Like, you know, this type of comedy. Like,
oh yeah.
Just, even though some could say it's simple, I don't know what's happening above us right now. I thought it was entertaining.
They don't even talk once the whole show, and it still is somehow entertaining.
It seemed like one of the main themes was music. Like, they had drums, paint. It probably lasted an hour.
Oh, I'm pretty sure it lasted a full 90 minutes, but I remember we both walked out saying, I wish they would have cut off 30 minutes. Yes, it was entertaining, but I feel like in Vegas it should be like 45 minutes and we're in, we're out. But I guess people do want their money's worth, you know? We decided during this show that it must just be a Vegas legality thing that all of the volunteers are scripted, because there were volunteers in this show as well, and we could just tell, like, it was too perfect.
One of them had a sash on that said new bride or something, and that's the typical Vegas thing. I'm gonna get married there. So yeah, this made me realize that probably everyone that they invite on stage in any of these shows is fake.
I know, because then they invited this girl on stage to eat Twinkies with them, and she was so funny, like doing all these jokes herself, and I was like, maybe someone is just that good of a performer randomly, but it just seemed like it was all planned out, you know?
Yeah.
So it must just be a thing where nowadays, since everyone sues everyone for everything because they want to make money, you can't invite actual people on stage or...
Were the haters correct once again? I'm gonna say no, because it's meant for families, so I probably wouldn't want to go again, or I wouldn't want to go again. But yeah, my answer is, honestly, it's a good show, but it's just like a dumb show.
I feel like for sure the haters are wrong, because the blue men that were performing at our show, they seemed so committed, like they were funny with their physical comedy, like they put in so much effort. I feel like it was great, but yeah, I wouldn't want to see it again.
Now we're on to our second show of day 2. This is a show that is kind of vulgar. It's called Puppetry of the Penis, and it's located in the Sex Museum in Las Vegas. It's not on the Strip.
You have to go one block.
Yeah, one block off the Strip. Once again, gamblingsites.com says Puppetry of the Penis is the number 3 shows to avoid in Vegas. But I just don't think they're correct.
Yeah, they're just mad that they can't do puppetry with their penis.
Just a little mini story time. Last year when we went to Vegas, we wanted to go to some weird shows, and we stumbled upon this show, but I was like, I really want to go to this show. It sounds funny. Like, they're gonna do stuff with their penis? Like, what are they gonna do?
Genital origami.
So we got tickets, and we were about to go into the Sex Museum. But then we just got intimidated, so we didn't go.
Yeah, since it's off the Strip, I just got scared that we'd be the only people in the audience, and it would just be us with people doing dick tricks, and that just seems awkward.
But this time, we're actually gonna go. Like, we aren't gonna just be chickens.
We have to know what this show's about.
This show was not in like a theater. It was more just in a room, and there was fold-up chairs.
Yeah, there was probably 50 fold-up chairs.
So the show started, and a stand-up comedian came out, and I was worried because I was like, wait. So we paid for Puppetry of the Penis, but is it gonna be a thing where 3 comedians come out and then the last 5 minutes is Puppetry of the Penis?
Yeah.
Because I was justifying it in my head, because I was like, wait, how could they make a show out of Puppetry of the Penis?
Yeah, how many tricks can you do?
Puppetry of the Penis is genital origami, and I guess it started in the 90s in Australia, and then it spread in other shows of it. Thankfully, the comedian lasted like 10 minutes. She was a warmer-up for the show. She was funny. Honestly, it kind of makes sense that they had a stand-up comedian for 10 minutes, because you can't just go into a show and see. You have to wait 10 minutes. It just is weird if it comes out right away.
Yeah, the whole vibe of the show is a comedy show, so she just, loosening us up, making us feel comfortable to laugh.
So the 2 guys came out, and they had like they had these little things covering them, but like under that they just were naked.
Oh, they had like robes on, right?
Yeah, that's what it was. I didn't know what that word was for a second. And then like 30 seconds later, they just went naked. After 5 minutes, No, after probably 2 minutes. You just get used to it.
The show is so low budget because it's literally just the two guys who are doing the puppetry, and then they have like a little camera on a tripod, so you get an up-close shot that's projected on a screen behind them. And they're the ones moving the camera and stuff, so it's just a very DIY.
They made hamburgers. They turned their penis into a vagina. Like, not actually, but like made it look like a vagina.
Oh yeah, they used their balls to be Kim Kardashian's butt. Miley Cyrus swung on one of their balls like the wrecking ball. Like, somehow they did stretch it out to 40 minutes of different penis tricks. Even though they were kind of doing the same thing, they just kind of put it in a different context, you know? I walked into the show thinking it was gonna be like intricate tricks, like doing knots and different things like that, but it literally was pretty basic, you know?
I feel like if like you have a penis, you've kind of done stuff like this before when you were like a kid or something. This was the whole show. There'd be one guy talking in the microphone, talking about the next trick they're gonna do, and then the other guy would be turned around like fixing his junk to do the trick, and then they'd do like, voila, I turned my penis into a butterfly. Yeah, so it lasted like an hour, and I was never really bored.
One of the guys was so sweaty, and it couldn't have been from being nervous, because unless that was his first show and he just booked the job, but he just was a sweater.
There was one part where literally there was a bead of sweat dripping off the tip of his penis.
I know, this is close up on video projected on a big screen.
And there was also a part where they tore off a pube and threw it in the front row. That was a ladybug. That was a ladybug.
I hate the outdoors. I honestly prefer Vegas.
Did the haters have any legitimacy to their claims?
No, I feel like you're never gonna be duped going to this show. It's exactly what you think it is. People doing puppet tricks with their penis, nothing more, nothing less.
If I was with the right crowd going to Vegas again, I would suggest going to the show and say, it's a hoot and a holler, it only lasts like an hour.
Yeah, I think we were part of a bad crowd, because I remember they actually said, usually Friday night crowds are rowdy, but they kind of give the vibe that they thought all of us were uptight.
Then we had a few drinks and went to bed and got ready for day 3, the biggest slams day. Show after show after show.
4 shows to see.
It started at 2 o'clock in the afternoon with a putt comedy show. This is like, I expect something like this to get bad reviews just because people expect something crazy and then it never happens.
Somebody wrote on Reddit, I get that it's aimed at kids, but it's got almost nothing for adults to latch onto. Hun, you're going to a show where pets are doing comedy. Like, what are you expecting? I actually was excited for this one because Popovich was the host, and apparently he's a 5th generation circus performer. He's been traveling the world doing his little tricks, and now he's doing tricks with pets.
He was goofy.
He was a literal screwball.
I don't know if it's from having a few drinks before. For the first 15 minutes of the show, I was legitimately just giggling.
I know.
I just like was bursting out laughing. It was hilarious to me.
I know, it's a pet comedy show and the comedy was working because, yeah, we were both cracking the F up. Cats doing things, like they had all these sound effects. Weren't the pets they were supposed to be firemen and they were like trying to save this village. Like, it was just the cutest, funniest thing I could ever imagine.
And it wasn't only dogs and cats. There was like ducks.
There was a pig.
A gerbil or a hamster or something.
Yeah, there is. Popovich included it all.
After like the first 15 minutes, it seemed like it started to just go to a circus show because there was no more animals, and it was just like Popovich and like 3 other guys doing circus things. Like there was one part where he went on a ladder and did like a trick.
Oh yeah, like it was just a standalone straight up ladder and he climbed up it, but like it didn't fall. Like he was really doing some intricate stuff in there.
This show was for sure aimed at kids because there was like booster seats being handed out. There was a bunch of families. So if you were gonna hate this show, it's kind of dumb because it's meant for families, it seems like.
It was funny that it technically is a kid's show because we went to the bathroom and it reeked of weed. Like someone had just lit up something in there and I felt like I was gonna get a contact high.
After like 30 minutes, we decided we'd seen enough. The putts weren't coming out, and also I was just kind of over it.
Yeah, we wanted to just get the vibe of the show to see, is it really the worst show? But we don't need to see the whole thing. We have 3 more shows to see today. I got a rash.
Oh yeah, what were you doing?
I don't know if it was from excitement from Popovich or like an alcohol reaction, but I was getting hives.
Time to talk about the haters now. I'm gonna say the haters weren't right. I can understand them though.
I mean, I don't really understand the Reddit guy. He said there was nothing for adults to latch onto. I was an adult and I was laughing. You couldn't latch onto the ladder trick? It's like,
hilarious.
girl, you have bad taste. Really evaluate what's triggering you.
Some people fill their hearts with ah, and some people fill their hearts with envy. I was more in an ah mood.
Oh, I've never heard that. Is that actually a saying?
No, isn't that kind of
That's
true
actually
when you actually think
true.
about it?
Yeah, because you would be in awe of people or you'd be jealous of them.
It was 4 o'clock now, and it was time for Paranormal Mind Reader with Frederick Da Silva. I didn't know much about this show other than the title, but I was very excited for this show. Something about this show seemed more real than Chris Angel and David Copperfield.
Yeah, first of all, the time. It's a 4 o'clock show. It's not the prime time, Chris Angel, David Copperfield time slot. I was interested to see a show that, yeah, I want to see a more low-budget magic show. Also, wasn't this one not even on any lists? We just purely wanted to see this one.
We're just gonna decide if it's a worst Vegas show or not.
We didn't. No one online said it was the worst show. His last name is Silva. I read a mind-reading book 10 years ago. It's by this guy named Jose Silva. So that intrigued me too. I was like, wait, is this Jose Silva's son? It was a super small venue, but it wasn't as like run down as the Puppetry of the Penis. It seemed more legitimate.
Frederick came out, yes, I'm just gonna say his first name because like, we're kind of friends now. And he immediately started with the good energy. He kind of hyped up the crowd.
Instead of an illusionist like David Copperfield and Chris Angel, he's a mentalist, I guess. Like he messes with people's minds. He knows what they're thinking. Like he actually wowed me.
This show involved a lot of the audience, and previously in this video we said every show in Vegas has fake participants. But this show proved to me that that isn't true.
Yeah, these people were definitely not paid actors. Just because the show was so small as well, like are they really gonna have 1/3 of the audience be paid actors? How is that sustainable?
Also, just to prove that they weren't paid actors, there was a meet and greet after, and we actually went to the meet and greet because it was free. Go behind us was someone that was asked up on stage, and she was with her friends talking about how crazy it was.
Yeah, unless that was all part of the act, but I
just don't believe it. The craziest part of the show was he invited a lady up, and then he did something. I forgot what he did, but she opened her eyes and he put a word in front of her, like experienced. And she couldn't pronounce it because the whole trick was he's gonna make someone forget the English language.
Oh, so he also did some hypnosis. That stuff was cool, but I feel like the actual non-hypnosis mentalist things were creepy. Like people would have things in their minds and he would know like what they were thinking and stuff.
Had someone like pick out their dream place to visit and how much money they would need, and they wrote it on a piece of paper, and then he put money in an envelope and it ended up being the same amount. And you could say there's a camera behind them that he can see, or he has an earpiece and there's cameras everywhere.
That's all a possibility.
Definitely is a possibility, but the way that I justify it is because the show seemed low budget in general, so how'd they even be making money if they did all that?
We might not have been completely sold, because once we found out there was a meet and greet, we decided we're gonna put this to the test.
Yeah, Lucas said he kept guessing people's numbers on during the show, so I'm gonna guess a number. Put a number in my head and see if he can guess it.
So I put 29 in my head, and I quietly told Jacob, this is when we were far away from him. We were back in line in the meet and greet, and I said, I'm gonna have him guess 29, because I was born on August 29th. There was no one biased when I told Jacob. I whispered it to him. I mean, unless there were hidden microphones everywhere, maybe this contraption was way more deep than we knew. When we got to him, I asked him to guess what number was in my head. And he said, oh, is it between 1 and 100? And I said, yes. And he said, okay, mentally say it 3 times. So I mentally was like, thought, 29, 29, 29. And then he said, I know it, 29. And he said, that's funny, when you walked up, I thought you were gonna say 29. I thought you were gonna have me guess 29. And I was just creeped out because I was like, what? Like, maybe when I mentally thought 29, I accidentally mouthed it or something. But other than that, I have no idea how he did that. And I even Googled how do mentalists do that. And all the tricks that they usually do, he didn't use. Like, I actually just don't get it. Like, please somebody explain.
This show left me so wowed that I did the same as you. I Googled it, was trying to find an answer. And weirdly, there's not many like Reddit threads about him. Like, people don't talk about him often enough with the crazy he did during the show.
That's just creepy. Like, I was thinking, like, what else am I thinking that you know about? Like, what if I was thinking like some weird, inappropriate thought, and then like you'd saw it in my mind? Like, that's embarrassing, even though I don't think I was. So then after he guessed the number, I was like, okay, are you related to Jose Silva, the guy who wrote mind reading control or whatever that book was. And he said, well, the funny thing is my dad is named Jose. And I was like, well, you're Frederick da Silva, so your dad's Jose Silva? And he said, yes, but he isn't the guy who wrote the book. And then I was like, what? I guess that's the answer, but I'm trying to make it mysterious. Basically, I'm trying to say, like, his dad is that. He couldn't tell me. If in that moment he would have asked me to join his cult and say, like, if he told me he had, like, a commune in Wyoming, I would have given up my whole life, and then in 20 years, I'd probably be in a Netflix documentary talking about how I got sucked into a cult, and I actually feel like I wouldn't regret it.
Like David Copperfield, he also did the motivational part. He went to how he used to perform on the Vegas Strip, just on the street, and now he has a show, and even though it's so cheesy, I just always like it. It just gives me a little boost.
I get you.
No one said this was the worst show, but is it the worst show? No, it's not the worst show. It's honestly so far the best show we've been to.
Go to it on your next Vegas trip.
Third show of the day, which is Michael Jackson Live. Someone on Reddit said, I thought it was pretty awful. Got dragged to it on a this looks fun whim. Should have done my research, cause I'll never get those hours back. When I was a kid, I used to think Michael Jackson was the scariest person alive. Mainly because there was a photo of him holding his baby over a balcony, and I didn't understand why he was doing that. I just thought in my mind, oh, he's a baby killer. So that scared me.
What scared me the most as a kid about Michael Jackson was there was this photo on Google of him behind the Home Alone poster. Something about that really just traumatized me. So basically we had to see MJ live to get over our childhood fears. And it isn't actually Michael Jackson, it's an impersonator, but same thing.
Right when the show was about to begin, someone by us shit their pants.
I know, I think it was the guy literally directly next to me. This show was it sold out? Like we were packed in there. There was no
There was a bunch of seats behind us open, but they just squished everyone in the front.
Oh yeah, like the guy next to me just ripped one and it was just gross. It's like, we just had sat down, so he could have farted on his walk in. He could have gone to the bathroom, but just ripping it when you know we're all packed in that tight.
It's disgusting.
I know, I was breathing in his fart.
But even though that happened, Michael Jackson, the impersonator, came on stage and he performed all the hits. He even talked to the audience, and the impersonator did his actual voice. Like the impersonator had like a low voice.
But he would do like the classic Michael Jackson voice too, like, hey guys.
I didn't really know Michael Jackson like had such a high-pitched voice.
Oh, he always talked like that.
Thank you. It sounds good like this.
Because we can talk like this.
And it was crazy because he was singing live, it sounded like.
We were in the very back row, and so we were pretty far away, but from our point of view, I was thinking this is actually Michael Jackson. I was starting to go into the whole conspiracy. You know, people say Elvis is alive and he's in San Diego. I was starting to think Michael Jackson is alive and he loves performing so much that he's pretending to be an impersonator and performs on the Strip every night. Like,
I was kind of thinking that too.
I know there's documents online that say this is an impersonator, but that's Michael Jackson.
Did all the dance moves. He did the moonwalk.
It's crazy because you don't realize that there are actual icons. Because I don't even listen to Michael Jackson music ever. I don't think I've ever added a Michael Jackson song to my iPhone. But somehow I knew every single song. Like there are these people that we all just know all of their music without even listening to it.
And the show was probably an hour, if not more. Yeah, and somehow we knew every single song.
Yeah, he literally has an iconic catalog.
One of the only songs I've listened to and downloaded on my phone by Michael Jackson is Do You Remember the Time When We Fell in Love? But they didn't perform that, so I'm guessing that's not like a really big song.
I love how I'm raving about it right now, but I did fall asleep.
I looked over, and it's not like I was crazily enjoying it, like, woo, I was just watching it, but you were just sleeping.
I know, this was our third show of the day. We've been drinking all day, and I guess I needed a nap. And I felt bad when I woke up 10 minutes into the nap, but I looked next to me, other people were sleeping. I think it's a vibe in Vegas to sometimes sleep during the shows. As long as you're not in the front of the theater, that'd be rude. But if you're in the back rows, feel free to sleep, you know?
I was kind of realizing throughout all these shows that people go to these Vegas shows just to have something to do, because at multiple of these Vegas shows, people legit looked bored.
But then there were the people on the opposite side of the spectrum who were literally running towards the stage, filming it all on an iPhone, and I think they actually, like me, thought it was actually Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson, the impersonator, kept grabbing his crotch. I didn't know he did that.
Yeah, because when I think of Michael Jackson, I don't get any sexual energy. He sort of seems like an asexual person. But yeah, the impersonator kept grabbing his crotch, so I'm assuming the actual Michael Jackson did that.
After the show, we both thought he was Michael Jackson, so we went to the meet and greet, but this one costed $35, so we just said no because it's just an impersonator. If it was actually Michael Jackson, I would have paid the $45. Was that one person on Reddit right? I'm gonna say no. I enjoyed the show, and I wasn't expecting to know most of the music, but I knew it.
Yeah, I feel like the show was good. Like I said, I don't ever listen to his music for fun, but I still enjoyed it, even though I did sleep for 10 minutes of it, but.
I would never choose to go to an impersonator show because there was another one being promoted that was for
The Spice Girls?
For the Spice Girls. And if I was just Lucas and he said, let's go to that, I'd be like, I'm for sure down. But something about it does seem dumb to me. Mm-hmm. But I get why it's a thing that's like, oh, it's someone that looks like them and they sound like them, but it still sounds dumb to me.
But I think what makes it worth it though is that they're usually, if they have an actual Vegas show, they're so good at impersonating them. Like this Michael Jackson performer literally was just Michael Jackson.
Now it's 9:30 at night and it was time for Car at MGM.
This is a Cirque du Soleil show.
On that casino website that is not believable because we liked both the shows that they said was bad, this show is the #1 show to avoid in Vegas according to them.
Yeah, also on Reddit, a lot of people have a lot to say about this show for some reason. It's so weird because Cirque du Soleil shows, I'm pretty sure they're, like every casino on the strip has one, but something about this particular one, for some reason people are hating. And neither of us have ever even been to a Cirque du Soleil show.
So we can't compare it to any of the other ones, but we're just gonna see what we think of it, just going in blind, I guess. Right away, I could tell, like, oh, this is a big budget show, like probably the biggest budget show that we've been to. Like, these seats had audio coming from them. We were sitting in the back, but Lucas was just like, asked one of the workers, can we move up? And we got moved to like somewhere in one of the front rows.
Yeah, because this theater was pretty much, wasn't only like 20% full.
Yeah, it wasn't busy.
Yeah, so I was thinking, okay, we've got the cheapest tickets available, but let's see if we can go up closer. There's no one even up there. And the guy was like, you know what? No one ever asked, but they should because, yeah, come on up.
My mind, I don't know if we were just like talking the whole time, but it felt like it just started randomly. Like,
oh
like
yeah.
we were just like talking or on our phones or something, and then I look up and it's like, oh wait, there's like people jumping everywhere when it started.
The whole entire contraption, the stage contraption was insane. Like, it was this huge stage that would rotate, and then the circus performers would climb up the thing. These performers were really just climbing all over everything.
From my viewing of the show, it seemed like there was kind of a storyline that like I kind of understood. Like there was two villages and they were fighting each other for some reason.
At one point they went on a ship and someone drowned. We were just sat there in the audience thinking, can't we all just get along? Wasn't there also a button plants boy?
Yeah, I don't know why he had to wear button plants, but someone did have a big butt.
Yeah, and it wasn't like their actual butt, like the costume was just a big ass. I don't know if it was just to kind of add some sexual tension, but.
There was no like English. It was just a bunch of like mumbling, or I don't even know what you'd call it, but just like da-da-da-da, like things like that. There was one part where like it looked like they were literally above us jumping from thing to thing.
Oh yeah.
So that is crazy that they can do that.
Watching them do all that weird made me think, how are people giving this bad reviews? Like, they're literally doing the craziest stuff and people are hating?
What it made me think, if people say this is the worst rated Cirque du Soleil show, I want to go to the best rated or one that's better than this, because I already think like this is pretty cool.
But then again, I think there's a Cirque du Soleil show that's like the Beatles themed. That would have been way more entertaining if it was music you actually knew, you know?
Oh, that's true. This show did very much give Mario vibes. Like people dying and then hearing that game sound effect and then little like flowers popping up killing people. It just reminded me of a video game.
Yeah, because they had to go through all these obstacles, jumping on things, like, it was just crazy.
Even though we are kind of raving about it, we only stayed for 40 minutes or 45 minutes because we knew it was probably gonna last an hour and a half, and this was our 4th show of the day, so we already got the gist.
Yeah, we kind of wanted to go to a club.
We wanted to party. This was a show that actually did have a lot of criticism, so now we have to decide, were the haters right? I don't completely know because I haven't been to the other Cirque du Soleil shows. Maybe they are way better.
But I feel like this one was already so well done and the performers were so good, so I feel like they were wrong. Didn't some people say it was so boring I was falling asleep, but it's like, that's gonna be for any Cirque du Soleil show because no one's gonna be talking, you know what I mean? If you're not interested by watching people flip around and climb things, then it isn't the show for you.
Like you kind of said, I obviously would have enjoyed it way more if I actually understood what was happening, or if they had music that I liked or something.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So there it is, me, Jacob, and my brother Lucas going to 7 of the worst rated shows in Vegas. And as you can tell, we were pretty optimistic about it.
So the conclusion is, don't believe everything you see.